Hello everyone, welcome to another Guest Internet instructional video. This is a series of videos that we're using to explain how to configure a Guest Internet controller. Now, before you start configuring a Guest Internet controller, please download the configuration guide. This tells you how to connect the equipment, how to go through the setup wizard, and how to log in as the administrator. So it's very important that you read this document carefully beforehand. We have these documents for StarKits, and we have these documents for guest internet controllers. Now, when you log in as the administrator, the first thing you see is this system information page. And this gives you a summary of the status of the guest internet controller. Now, today we're going to go to the advanced settings. We're going to scroll down here, and we're going to look at monitoring and alerting. Now, to use the monitoring and alerting feature requires that you already configure the email settings, which is shown here. And this is covered in a separate video. So please see the other video that talks about the email settings before we go on to the monitoring and alerting. So what does monitoring and alerting do? Well, it allows us to identify if any device in our network has failed. And the devices in the guest internet controller LAN network are usually wireless access points. And so what we can do is check the status of the wireless access points. If any has failed, then we can send a message to whoever receives the email messages, the supervisor, advising that a device has failed. Now, why would we want to do this? Well, if we have a hotel, for example, with 10 wireless access points and one of them fails, the only way we're going to know is if our customer or our guest starts complaining. Because if one wireless access point fails, there'll be other wireless access points, but they'll be further away, and so the signal will be weaker. So the guest will have more difficulty connecting to that, and the speed will be slow. Okay. Now, ideally, we want to identify when a wireless access point has failed before anybody complains. And so that's why we have this feature. So this feature allows us to add up to 100 devices, to monitor 100 devices. And let me explain this page. First of all, we want to provide an email address where we're going to send the alert. So remember, we have to set up the email configuration first for this. Okay. Now, we have to configure each device. We can add as many devices as we want, but we have 4 parameters to fill in here. Okay. The first is the IP address. This is the IP address of the device user interface. Now, this has to be in the same range as the domain of the LAN port. Now, the default is 192.168.96.1 for the LAN 1 port. And so that's obviously the IP address of the gateway. We can't use that. The DHCP start address is 192.168.96.10. And so we can go from .2 to .9 to configure our devices. If we want to configure more than 8 devices, then we can change the DHCP start address instead of .10, .20, .30, whatever we want to do. Okay. Now, each device will require a configuration change in order to provide an IP address that's in the subnet range of the LAN port. Each device we're going to monitor has to have a unique IP address. And so each one has to have a different. They can be in sequence, 96.2, 96.3, and so forth. Also, we want the MAC address of the device. So once we're logging into the device and making the change of the IP address, we want to make a note of the MAC address. And so that is entered here. So we've got the IP address, of the user interface, the MAC address of the user interface, which identifies the device. Now, we have an option here for interfaces. Now, depending on the guest internet controller, it may have 1, 2, 3, or 4 LAN interfaces. And so we have to identify which LAN interface. This is a drop-down menu. And so depending on the controller you're connecting to, it will show you the LAN interface. Now, if it's a GISR4, it will show you LAN 1. Although there are 4 ports, there are a switch. And so you have just LAN 1. If it's a GISR20, it's going to show LAN 1, LAN 2, LAN 3, LAN 4. And so you have to select the correct LAN number that the device is connected to. And finally, we have text, which we can put in the box over here. The text is important because that's going to identify not only the device, but the location of the device. Now, if a wireless access point fails, we want to send a message to the email of a person who provides field service. And so they're going to want to know what failed and where is it. Okay, so we can put wireless access point 3 located in the closet at the end of corridor on floor 2. We can write that. And that helps the person, the field service person, because he can go to the hotel, locate the wireless access point that's failed, swap it out. He has to obviously configure it first so that it has the same configuration. And then the repair is done very quickly and easily. Okay. Now, if you want more information about monitoring and alerting, there's more information about this in the product manual. If you also look at the cloud service, which is a subject of another video, you'll see that we can use the cloud to monitor the gateway and advises if the gateway fails or if the ISP connection to the gateway fails. So we can actually have 3 levels of failure monitoring. One is the wireless access points. The next level is the guest internet controller, and then the ISP connection to the guest internet controller. So if we have a very large network with multiple locations, many guest internet controllers, many wireless access points, we can monitor everything and funnel the alerts to our field service people who then can make the repair. Okay, well, thank you for watching. Please, if you have any questions, send an email to us and we'll be very happy to answer your question. Look out for other videos in this series. And if you have any suggestions for us, we'd be very happy to hear them. Thanks for watching and see you next time.